first of all, welcome on this Thursday afternoon. We have, as you will hear as we go on, this is Wednesday. But we have the slight luxury, as you will hear, of this being the first ever ceremony of this nature, and therefore we have been able to decide the format of such a ceremony ourselves. So there is some running order to this, so I shall ramble for a short period, and then Andrew will do so far more eloquently, and then we will take each alderman and appoint them to the office of alderman in turn, and they will have a chance to say a few words and lots of photos and other things in between. But hopefully, if you just bear with us for the next half an hour or so, you will make it to the prize of a reception downstairs. Jolly good. So, as I said, it is a great honour and a privilege to be here today on what is a truly historic occasion for our town, because today we come together not just as a council, but as a community to recognise a momentous achievement, genuinely a first for Harlow and a proud milestone in our town's history. For decades, Harlow has been a town built on the foundations of hard work, dedication, and a deep commitment to public service. It is a place where ordinary people do extraordinary things in service of others, where the fabric of our community is woven together by those who give their time, their energy, and their heart to make our town a better place for all. And today we celebrate the appointment of Harlow's first ever alderman, a title that is reserved for those who have gone above and beyond in their service to their town. This is not just an honour, it is a recognition of a lifetime of dedication, a testament to years of tireless work, and a symbol of the respect and admiration that this council, and indeed the entire town, holds for some of our most esteemed members. And I understand, although the chair may correct me, that this is the highest honour that this council can bestow, which is ironic, of course, because nobody sets out to win. Indeed, no one has ever been bestowed with it. No one picks up the rosette, knocks on a door, stands for election, fights for their town, spends endless hours reading council reports, leads this council, and thinks, you know what, if I keep this up, in 2024, I could get a medal from a guy named Danny Swords and another named Andrew Johnson. That certainly wasn't in their plan. But that's exactly what makes this award so special. Each one of today's aldermen is blessed with an extraordinary amount of talent. All of them are driven. But of course, we could fill this room many times over with people who are talented and driven. What sets these aldermen apart is the incredible impact they have had on so many people. Not in short, blinding bursts, but steadily over the course of a lifetime. And when I say a lifetime, I mean it. All three of whom we celebrate today were councillors for longer than I have been alive. So of course, the question you all wish to know the answer to, what is an alderman? I shan't give you a history lesson, but the Local Government Act 1972, which I expect all councillors are well versed in, gives principal councils such as Harlow the power to confer the title of honorary alderman on persons who have, in the opinion of council, rendered eminent services to the council as past members of that council, but are no longer members of that council. The Act does not specify how eminent services are defined, and that is a matter of local interpretation. So I've done some research of how many councils up and down the country define eminent service and to which criteria those councillors have to meet. We have a defined criteria in Harlow, but other councils have wildly different interpretations. So in our case, to be even considered, you must have served for 10 years. In others, it could be 12 and up to 20, I've found. In some places, you must have been the leader of the council, or the deputy leader, or a cabinet member or chair of a committee, and many other such requirements. The one thing I can say is that the three aldermen we are celebrating today, as far as I can see, would meet the requirement to be an alderman in any town or borough up and down the country by anyone's stretch of the imagination. So I think it is, with that, duly deserved. Our newly appointed aldermen have served Harlow with distinction for many years. They've been a guiding force in this council, a voice of reason, and I dare even say at times wisdom. But the one thing that is unquestionable is that they have been true champions for the people of Harlow. Whether it's been advocating for better services, standing up for the vulnerable, or working behind the scenes to ensure that our town continues to thrive, their contributions have been invaluable. Beyond that work, beyond the long hours and the countless meetings, what truly sets these individuals apart is their unwavering commitment to the principles of public service. They've always put the needs of others before their own, always sought to unite rather than divide, and always believed in the power of community to bring about positive change. In appointing our first alderman, we are not just honouring one individual, we are celebrating the very best of what it means to be a public servant. We are recognising the spirit of dedication that makes Harlow such a special place to live, and we are setting a standard for future generations to aspire to. As we mark this historic occasion, let us take a moment to reflect on what it means for the future of our town. The title of alderman is, as I say, not just a recognition of past achievement, but is to continue that work, to build on that foundation that's been laid, and to ensure that Harlow remains a town where service, dedication and community are at the heart of everything we do. So to our newly appointed aldermen, I say this: your work has not gone unnoticed, your contributions have made Harlow a better place, and for that we are all deeply grateful. As you take on this new role, you may continue to inspire us all with your dedication, wisdom, your unwavering commitment to the people of this town. So congratulations and thank you for your service. Harlow is grateful to you. We are all grateful to you. And I will close my opening remarks, I know you're all getting a bit excited about me finishing, by saying the people that are also being recognised today, apart from 3 aldermen, is their families and loved ones, who, without whom none of what I've just set out would be possible. And you have also made extraordinary sacrifices for this to be the case, and our town is indebted to you.
Thank you very much, Dan. One of the problems of speaking second at any event, as you'll appreciate, is a lot of what I might say has already been said. But it is indeed, the same as for Dan, an honour for me to stand here at this first ever alderman ceremony in Harlow. And I'm not sure there'll ever be anything of the like. We may well create aldermen in future, but to create 3 gentlemen tonight as aldermen of our town, who between them have given 76 years of service in this council chamber. And among their number is a leader of the council, a deputy leader of the council, a chair of the council, a lead member or portfolio holder for resources, for housing, for environment. Speaks very much to the type of gentleman we're about to make this award to. Harlow Council came together earlier this year to decide amongst itself and to decide unanimously that all 3 of these men deserved recognition for their long service, for the time that they'd put in, and for what they had done for our town. They have delivered exceptional service. Each of them in their own way, quite amazing and resilient gentlemen, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And very much, in my opinion, worthy of the honour of being an alderman of this town. Now, I am a bit of a historian, and the position of alderman in this country dates back to Saxon times, where an alderman was the representative of the crown within an area, the person due to take responsibility for things. And in fact, predated our councils as we know. It was the alderman that kept control of an area. And through time that has changed and developed. We come to today where councils appoint aldermen when they think someone deserves recognition at the end of their political career, when they become effectively elder statesmen of our town. And as Dan had said also, it represents the time that they've put in, and the members of the public don't see the time that councillors put in. They're aware of councillors going to council meetings, and they're aware of councillors when they deal with them through their mailbag or constituency meetings, ward meetings, and the public don't see the hours that's spent prepping for a meeting, the hours spent meeting lots of different residents, the hours spent walking your ward and taking on all the problems that exist for reporting and getting them done. They don't take on board those who've been in a position, often lowly recompensed as we are in this council, although none of us do it for the money. And certainly when you reach the position of a portfolio holder, or indeed Mark's case leader of the council and Eddie deputy, a lot of time spent in this civic centre, a lot of time spent in negotiations, in meetings with the opposition, in meetings with your own councillors who may even be a bigger opposition, in reading and drafting committee papers. There is an awful lot of work that has happened in those combined 76 years of service. And so it's a real honour tonight to present with Dan each of the award winners, each of the aldermen, with a presentation plaque and indeed a badge. And the badge I would encourage the three of you to wear. It's a beautiful badge with our crest on, with your names. And what does it entitle you to do? Well, you're not going to get any money from it, and you're not going to get lots of special treatment. It doesn't allow you access to this building, it doesn't allow you, use of the offices. But if you're attending a civic event, and we have a number of those in the town these days, you are the most important person in the room behind the chair and the vice chair, in front of all of the other councillors. So more important than the leader of the council, more important than ex-chairs, more important than the members of the general public. It is an honour to put you at the front of the queue for the civic service, or to be seated first in high place of honour at the civic dinners. I'd encourage you to continue to get involved in politics in Harlow. You may no longer be councillors, but your combined 76 years of service to our town leaves you with a huge institutional memory that can be used for the good of our town. I hope you will freely offer advice to members of both sides of the chamber, to the present chair or whoever that will be going forward, and indeed to the leadership of the council. Thank you for your service. Thank you to your families who've put up with all that service. Thank you for coming tonight. And to the other members that are here to witness this, I'd like to thank you for coming to see our first alderman created. Thank you very much. So our first recipient this evening is Eddie Johnson. And obviously for me this is a little bit personal, as my father, as someone that was my deputy leader for a period of time, and as someone who I introduced to local politics. Most people think it's the other way round, that he got me into local politics, but it was me that persuaded him to stand for local election. Eddie was elected in the year 2000 to the Great Palmton ward and served that ward for 24 years straight. During that time, as I said, he was deputy leader of the council. He was the chairman of environment. He was very involved in the introduction of wheelie bins to the town, and served the wider town in that same period of time as a county councillor, as chair of the finance committee at the college, as a governor, chair of a local school. I think we can firmly say that Eddie over his life has been embedded in the life of Harlow, having spent all his working life in the town. It's a pleasure for me to recognise him as an alderman and to thank him for his wise counsel to me, to my political group when I was a leader, and to the wider council. He doesn't say a great deal in chamber, but on the number of occasions that he did speak in the council chamber, it was often to make a very serious point. And when Eddie stood, a lot of people turned to take notice. So thank you for your service, Eddie. And I'll ask Dan to say a few words about you as well.
Well, I can't quite follow a son's testament to their dad, but I will say a few words in that I think it's probably fair to say Eddie is one of the most straightforward people I've ever dealt with, and I mean that not in a patronising way whatsoever. But I was never ambiguous about your view on something, and that I think is one of the greatest strengths you can have in politics, because there's not too many of us that can execute such a skill. And as Andrew said, your wise counsel, to me personally, but to all councillors and people in the town, is something that would have been sorely missed had you not been appointed to this office. You are the first, so I shan't repeat this 3 times over. You became a councillor in this chamber about 6 weeks before I was born. So I think it's fair to say you have seen 1 or 2 things change in Harlow, but what I can say with certainty is that they have changed for the better under your stewardship. So with that, we have the honour of appointing you to the office of Alderman. So we will invite you up, I believe, to the front and present you with a few things, and then you will have a chance to say a few words. Congratulations.
Yeah? You tell us where you want to cross a little bit. That's, wow. Tell us if we got this wrong, won't you?
There you go. That's us. Hold on a sec. Thank you.
Okay.
And can we have our family join, please?
Thank you.
And then at this stage, with all the other photos, we'll ask Dan and myself to step out and allow family.
Normally brief and very concise. Thank you so much for this incredible honour. Serving the community of Harlow as a district councillor for over 20 years, hadn't realised it was 24, Andrew, but I believe you, has been one of the most fulfilling and rewarding experiences of my life. Probably not for my wife, but for me. From the very beginning, my goal was to represent the people of the town with integrity, dedication and a genuine passion for improving our community. It's been a privilege to witness firsthand the positive changes and the growth that Harlow has experienced over the years. And I'm incredibly proud of the role that I've been able to play in helping shape the future of our town. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the residents of Harlow for placing their trust in me time and time again. This Alderman Award is not just a recognition of my service, but also a testament to the effort of all those who have worked alongside me over the years, my fellow councillors, community leaders, and most importantly, the citizens of Harlow. Together we have faced challenges, celebrated successes, and I'm confident that the town will continue to thrive. And I'd like to thank Harlow Council once again for this remarkable honour. I will cherish it always.
He is a councillor who comes from a slightly different political viewpoint to my own, but again is someone that even in my short time in the chamber in comparison, particularly in the role I hold now, I always thought twice when he spoke, because I thought this guy knows a bit more than I do. And that is certainly true when it comes to housing, particularly social and affordable housing in the town. There are few people who have done more, not just to champion Harlow Council's tenants, but to genuinely seek to extend the amount of social and affordable housing that is available to residents. And some of you may recall, a little earlier this year, we had, as a council, decided to buy a huge block of flats by the station. And I remember in advance of that meeting calling some people to gather their views on it. And most were fairly straightforward. Mark was very clear with me what he thought of the development, and more to the point, I remember coming off the phone thinking, it was a bit like my dad telling me, you better bloody do this for the benefit of local residents, and that is something that no one can take away from you in terms of just how much you have done to champion the people of Harlow over many years, far longer than I've been alive. So Andrew has been here throughout all that time, and will certainly have some reflections on your work too, Mark.
Well, actually, there's 1 year of Mark's service as a councillor that I wasn't here for in the chamber, because Mark was first elected in 1997, and I didn't stand and join the council until 1998, and he served from 97 to 99 for 2 years, and then took a short hiatus before returning in the mighty elections of 2002, our last all-up elections. And in 2002 he was returned for Harlow Common and continued there for the next 22 years. So again, 24 years of service, Mark. And during that time, for me, there were two most memorable things about your service. And that was as leader of the council, when I was a very annoying opposition leader. And yet you always dealt with me, as you've always done, and as you've always dealt with everyone else, with honesty and sincerity. We were able to have very decent conversations all the way through, despite our political differences at the time. Obviously, I don't have any political differences with anyone now. I wear this chain. But you always dealt with everyone very humanely, and I have to say, it was an honour to serve alongside you as your opposition leader. And the other thing is about housing. I think you are probably one of the, well, certainly on your own benches, you were the foremost expert in housing in the council. And as Dan said, when you rose to speak, particularly about a housing point in a debate, everyone listened. I think the Alderman we're going to come on to next, maybe on the other side of the bench, is the person you were rowing with the most and probably most disagreed with in the chamber. But I think we are losing a huge amount of knowledge about housing when you're stepping aside. That being said, there is no one I've found in the whole council that has a bad word to say about you, Mark. You seem to be friendly, have been friendly with everyone, and everyone will be friendly with you. And I think after 24 years of service, you deserve the break that you've chosen to take. And I want to congratulate you for all of your service and thank you for everything you have done for our town, because there's no doubt you have done. Thank you, Mark. Mark, will you come forward and receive your official appointment as honorary Alderman?
That's it. Okay. That's it. That's it. Lovely this way. What's that? No. Couple more then. Smashing. Thank you.
And would Mark's family like to come forward, and guests? To the side, maybe?
That's it. Smashing. Okay, everyone this way. I've been watching all these years.
I'm not used to all this.
That's it. That's it. Thank you. There we go. Lovely, everybody. Good stuff. Okay, stay as you are.
Thank you very much. I thought most of you thought you've heard the last of me and the last of my speeches in this great building. I like Eddie, I am so proud of what has happened today, and it's a real privilege and an honour to be nominated and put into this position. I took a step backwards a few months ago after 20 odd years of service for this town. As I said in what I thought was my farewell last speech in this chamber, I enjoyed every minute of it. I've enjoyed every minute of representing this town. I bore people greyness with a story that I'm Harlow through and through. I was born in this town, I was educated in this town, I've worked in this town all my life, I've raised my lovely family in this town, and people know also I'm a bit of a football fanatic. I come to, one of the first things I do on a Saturday evening is see how Harlow Town got on. Any sporting occasion at Harlow Town, any individual that represents this town, I love to follow, I love to see them do well. I'm really, really proud of this town. Going back to my service on the council, I think much has been said already. I spent a lot of my time not only as cabinet member for housing, portfolio shadow member for housing, going back to days of committees, chair of housing, and also, believe it or not, I did some other jobs as well, including the honour of being leader of this great town for a couple of years. Truly was an honour for myself. And it's quite ironic that my family are here today, because the last time they visited this chamber was to see me become leader of this town. And now makes me feel a little bit older. Now, one of my grandchildren is now in here seeing me collect an honour. So I think what both Dan and Andrew said earlier about our partners, the families at home, you know, they've missed out on me being at home quite a lot when they were growing up, because I was always at meetings or meeting officers or going over papers or visiting residents. And so they've sacrificed as much as what I've sacrificed, but I did it for the right reasons, and I had the support of my whole family, so I'm really proud that they're here today to see me get this honour. It is an honour, and I'm not sure where I'm going to take it and who I want to be called an alderman with, but my colleagues at work may have a few other names for me. I'm not sure I'll take that in the best, but it's honestly a real honour today to become one of the first aldermen of this town. We've got one of the first 3 aldermen of this town. And just to leave you on something that Andrew just said, I think he used the word, well, my great counterpart in this chamber. He said, wow, it was a difference of opinion. and that it's always happened in this great chamber. I did say in my closing speech that no matter what your views are in life, you should treat people with respect. You should treat people's opinion as different to your opinion. I'm always right, they're always wrong. But at the same time, you should respect that and treat them and speak to them as how you deserve to be spoken to yourself. So it wasn't roused, and I really, really enjoyed some of the great debates we had in this chamber. And I thank you all so much for the great honour today. Thank you very much.
Simon Carter. Now, sadly, because of ill health, Simon can't be with us this evening. However, his wife Judith and his son Nick are with us, and they're going to collect the award tonight on his behalf. Dan and I, however, will sneakily then take it back from you guys, and we want to do a formal presentation to Simon when he's well enough to receive it. But I want to welcome them for coming to collect Simon's award tonight. Simon first joined the council in 1991 and served 4 years in what was then Catherine's with Sons. He then had a 5-year hiatus himself from the council, returning in 2000 to 2002 in the ward of Potter Street and keeping his seat in 2002 in Church Langley, serving 24 years non-stop then, a total of 28 years service, the longest of the 3 aldermen tonight. During that time, he was particularly known as serving firstly as portfolio holder or chairman of resources, and in latter years portfolio holder for housing, over which he generated quite a lot of knowledge. And as I said earlier, was often seen debating across the chamber or disagreeing across the chamber with our former recipient, Mark. Simon has I want to say in-depth, but it's more than that, more than in-depth. It's a encyclopedic knowledge, shall we say, of local government finance, and I think is the only councillor that I've served with over the last 24 years that probably read every single word on every single page of every single agenda for this council. Low betide there be a typo, a spelling mistake, a misadding up, Simon would be the one to spot it, and regardless of who was in control of the council, he would raise it with aplomb in council meetings. That being said, his real attention to detail and his ability to pull a fact or figure from 20 years ago to the fore in a debate will be sadly missed from this chamber. He had an incredible knowledge of local government and of Harlow, and his services are greatly missed from this chamber. Thank you to Simon.
Well, it is, as Andrew said, a great shame that Simon can't be here today, but we will not quite recreate what we're doing currently, but present Simon in the proper way. But it's certainly fitting that Judith and Nick are here, who have seen that journey throughout and all the trials and tribulations that being the wife or son of a councillor brings, let alone Simon Carter. There are a few in this chamber who have sat as leader of the council. The worst thing I discovered was Simon being on your back benches, because when he was called to ask a question or make a comment, and he said that usually in cabinet, page 438, paragraph 6, and you sort of have this dread fill you up because you know what's coming next, and the fact that perhaps we hadn't quite read it with the same eye for detail as Simon had, is, I guess, one form of Simon's experience that we should all miss, probably one that we should miss the least. But there is absolutely no question of Simon's commitment and the things he has achieved. And I will speak briefly for a moment about the personal support he's given me, as he has to a number of people in the chamber, and particularly those on our side. If you come in as a new member, you certainly get a Simon Carter induction, which usually involves, and I remember mine well, driving around the town for about 3 days solid, with him pointing out to you just about every single planning decision that's gone wrong, what was decided in 1957 about where the sign should go, and everything in between. There is no greater encyclopedic knowledge, as Andrew said, than Simon. And I'm very lucky in this role to continue benefiting from that knowledge, although I shall pull him up on Monday that he didn't turn up to our Monday afternoon meeting this week, even though it was a bank holiday, as he usually rings me. But in the office in which we're appointing him to, I don't think there are any greater examples of someone who deserves to bestow this role. So we shall invite Judith and Nick up on Simon's behalf.
Do you want to stand the other side there? Can we get you in the middle for a photo?
Perfect.
Firstly, thank you very much indeed. That was a really lovely service and dedication, and I couldn't have put it better myself, and so I'm not going to try. Simon's in hospital. He's got an infection. He's taking antibiotics. He seems to be responding quite well to them, so hopefully he'll be better, certainly in time for next week when celebrating the golden wedding. And of course he sends his apologies. I'm sure there are some times in certain occasions on the 28 years of service that it would be quite nice to have a sick note and get out of, but I don't think this was one of them. He was really looking forward to it. And he asked me to pass on how humbled he was to be given this award and to be one of the 3 first aldermen. And I just wanted to add how proud Mum and I are too that he's been awarded that, and how grateful we are and that's been recognised. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're both very proud of him, and seeing him in hospital today, just before we came here, he seemed reasonably content that Nick and I would come and receive this on his behalf, although obviously he was disappointed not to be here himself, but hopefully, I gather that you're going to
We'll make sure we do something for him.
take these back and present him with them later. Isn't that the case?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. he's very, very proud of all of you and all of the town really. He's worked hard for Harlow all these years and cares about the people and the town very much. And I never thought when we first married and came here, I wasn't quite sure whether I would take to it, a new town. I came from Grimsby, so it was a very different place for me, but I got used to it and we had this young man and over the years I began to realise that actually there's nowhere that I'd rather be than here. You know, we're both rooted in Harlow now, I think, for the rest of our lives. So, anyway, thank you.
To the staff that have arranged this, to the members of Harlow Council that have turned up to support the Honorary Alderman, to the Honorary Alderman and their family, thank you very much for coming. Thank you once again for all of your service to our town. And thank you for accepting this honour that full council gave unanimously to the three of you to recognise your time, your effort, your commitment and your love of our town. That brings the formal ceremony to a close as soon as Dan has spoken, and there is a reception downstairs afterwards. Dan.
I have nothing more to say. You'll all be very pleased to know, other than to join Andrew in thanking everyone who's worked so hard to bring this together. It's, as I said many times over, the first time we've done such a thing in Harlow. We're genuinely honoured to have three people who have done so much for our town, and we are all benefiting from their work. So with that, please go and enjoy the food and drink that is downstairs, and I'm sure Brian may wish to take a photo or two.